Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to A2D. It is Tuesday, January 18th. We just got done watching the Super Wild Card weekend, and what a wild weekend we had. Man, there was 8 games this weekend. 8 games? Yeah,
Six.
6 games this weekend. Every single one of them had a pretty incredible storyline matchup, something going on. It was, I was in Miami watching Sunday's games, man, Saturday and Sunday's games, and shit, dude, I was on the edge of my seat watching every single one of those games. Like Sunday, I didn't even want to get on my plane coming home, man. Watching the Bucks and Eagles game, like that was a good game too. Like the Bucks just lit the Eagles up, dude. Like
Right.
congrats on your boys getting that win. You know, I missed week 18 for the most part. I was on a cruise ship out in the Caribbean, man. It feels great to be back. I had a good time on vacation, man, but being back on the podcast is what this is about. So, but man, yeah. So, how I know you probably enjoyed Sunday watching your Bucks win, but how'd you feel about the games this last week?
Good, man. Like you said, a wild card weekend. Can't say it any better, man. Happy to have you back, first of all.
I got,
But yeah, no,
first off, man, I gotta thank Chris for filling in for me. You guys had some pretty good shows while I was gone. So hey, Chris, man, if you're listening, thanks for filling in, buddy. Like, we're gonna have you on the show. You got a following for us, so I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for filling in, man, and uh, you know, I'm sure
you
you'll
the
be on in
man,
the
big
future.
dog. You the man. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. But
So.
wild card weekend, dude. It was crazy. Like you said, it's always better when my team wins. But the other games, all around, like you said, storylines. A couple blowouts. Buffalo kind of handled. Nobody really saw that one coming. Tampa we handled, and then last night, man, that game, that Rams came to play too. So yeah, we had a few blowouts, but then the other games, that Niner Cowboy game, that was a super tight finish. The even Vegas and Cincinnati came down to the wire. So speaking of that, that was the first game of the weekend. Let's dig into that a little bit. Las Vegas at Cincinnati. Derek Carr, man, he had a chance at the end, dude. I thought, he's had so many situations this year where he's pulled those out. I honestly thought he was going to do it. Me and you were texting
Mhm.
during that game, and you were like, Derek Icy Carr, So I thought he was going to come through, man.
Yeah, I saw a stat like over the last couple of years, and this actually kind
Yeah,
of blew my mind that he actually leads the NFL in comeback victories in the
dude.
last
Yeah.
2 minutes where he needs a touchdown, and that kind of surprised me a little bit because, you don't think the Raiders are, one of those teams that are going to, but I guess if they're going to be trailing, like they need to win, but he's just got that clutch gene, man. And I feel like if he had a little bit more talent around him, or, if Waller would have been healthy a little bit more this year, everything happened with Ruggs, who was a first rounder for him a couple of years ago. Like his head coach. I mean, everything that happened in Vegas this year, and Derek Carr still bringing that, and Bisaccia is still bringing that team to the playoffs, even,
Yeah.
winning week 18 against a really tough Chargers team to get to the playoffs.
Right. And
Man,
then the
it's,
Colts right before that, dude.
yeah,
They beat
man.
two teams that were battling for the playoffs, and they earned it, man. And they definitely earned it. And Derek Carr, since we're talking about him, is he going to come back? There's so many questions that going on
Mm.
in Vegas right now. Is Bisaccia coming back? I personally think he deserves it. I think they would be foolish to let Derek Carr go. But there's rumors already starting in Vegas, man, and it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, we talked about this a couple shows ago. They want to bring that big name in. They want to bring a guy like Harbaugh in. That's what the Raiders have always been. It's Vegas. It's a high profile job.
That's how the
Maybe,
Davises get down, man. That's what
yeah.
they do.
But how has that really helped him over the last couple of years? I mean, Gruden, yeah, got him from the cellar to, maybe an even team.
He
But
built the team
yeah,
going to
but
the
I mean, how
playoffs.
much did it really help them?
Him and Bisaccia worked together in Tampa. Like the philosophy Bisaccia and Gruden. Like I know Gruden got all kinds of hate and everything, and maybe he should have gone. Whatever. I'm not even going to get into that. But I think Bisaccia did a damn good job. But that's he ran Gruden stuff. Greg Olson and Gruden go way
Mhm.
back, the offensive coordinator. So those guys, it's not like they changed anything up. They just locked in. They credit to them. They were able to lock in, focus, and get it done. Dude, Derek Carr, money Carr, man. They better not let him go, man. If he goes to somewhere like Pittsburgh or Cleveland or
Yeah.
one of these teams that have a good, like he will light it up, man.
Yeah, man.
So
You
like
give
he's
that
good.
you give that kid talent, man. I mean, he's not really a kid anymore, but you give that guy some talent, he is going to be, yeah, lights out. I mean, he first 8 games of the season, maybe first 6 games of the season. I mean, we were
Yeah.
talking MVP.
Yeah.
We were talking about, this guy was playing probably the best ball, the top 3 out of the position. And, Waller went down, Ruggs got arrested, Gruden got fired, things happened with that team. And then you saw, it kind of motivated him. You saw him like, and I like Derek Carr. You listen to him, speak, you listen to
Right.
him, he's all
He
about his
matured a
teammates.
lot for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and he I don't know about stats or whatever, but just from watching him, the eye test, that's me, that's what I do. And it was his best year I've ever seen Derek Carr
Mhm.
play, as far as leadership, as far as late game heroics, and then the deep ball, man. He can throw the damn good deep ball,
Yeah,
if
he's
they
always
just
been
had the
able to throw a
good
good
threat.
ball. Yeah.
Right. So keep him, man. Vegas, whatever you do, keep him. I know that last year we had talks about Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, they just got to keep him. So
Yeah.
that's the losing team in that game. The winning team, your boy Joe Burrow, he started out hot. They actually kind of cooled down a little bit in the second
Mhm.
half of that game, to kind of let the Raiders get back in it.
Mhm.
So again, they lost their defensive tackle to Ogunjobi, their starting
Mhm.
defensive tackle, and now they got the Titans coming up next round, so that could play a pretty
I
big
think they lost.
factor.
I think they lost both of them.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. I know just the one guy, he is a little bit better, Ogunjobi.
Yeah. And then Hendrickson, he went out with a concussion in that game too. I don't know if he's going to be cleared to play on Saturday or not. But
That's
yeah,
huge.
they got King Henry. I mean, King Henry's got some pretty fresh legs coming up, and
Yeah.
he hasn't played in a while. And I mean, how healthy is that foot? I mean, it sounds like he's ready to rock.
Oh,
And
dude, yeah, for sure.
you're
I
going
think
into
so.
Tennessee. Here's the interesting matchups going into next week. I know we're going to talk about this more later this week, but it's going to be who, if the Bengals can stop the run enough. I like them in that game. If Tennessee can stop the pass enough, because they have a really bad secondary also.
Right.
So, I mean, it's going to be, matchup versus matchup in that game. It's going to be which team shows up the best, with their weaknesses. And,
Right.
we'll get into predictions on Friday, but, you know,
Exactly.
going back
It's
to
gonna
this
be
game,
yeah,
going
man. It's
back,
gonna be a chat. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like going back to the game on last Saturday with the Bengals and Raiders, man. The reason why Josh Jacobs started getting going, the Raiders started controlling the ball a little better in the second half, and they were able to kind of slow that game down and make it a game. And in the NFL, you make it a 1-score, even 10-point game. I mean, game scripts can flip so fast. And with Derek Carr, he's a wily veteran. He can throw that deep ball. He can make big plays. Josh Jacobs, down the stretch had a pretty good finish. So I
For
mean
sure, man.
that team seemed pretty
That's
lit
a really
up.
good point. That's a really good point. To have
So
Josh Jacobs, because if he can finish them off like that and bring them close, then what can you can only imagine what Derrick Henry's going to do. The health, a lot of the teams that keep advancing, like the Bengals and some of these other teams, health is going to be a major factor. If they lose Henderson, you can almost book it for Tennessee. Henderson's been huge for them. Ogunjobi's already out. They lose him too. Like it's all those guys out up front, you're gonna want to lean towards Tennessee. I feel they're at home. That's I picked Cincinnati on my bracket. So we'll see. Hopefully, Joe Burrow, like you said, if he can light up that secondary and stay hot, then that's what he's gonna have to do. Because if that defense is out, then guys are gonna have to step up. That's what it's
mhm.
about this time of year. Guys stepping up. Everyone's gonna have someone hurt. You can almost look at every single playoff team that's still in it, and there's someone on the team that's either hurt, questionable, something, so it's
Yeah.
all about who's the next guy up, and actually Cincinnati has that dude at quarterback that he'll be like, go
Hey,
ahead and get on my back,
he
get on
won
my
me a
back.
fantasy. He won me a
Yes,
fantasy
sir.
championship, man. I like that kid,
Cool
man.
Joe.
I think he plays with a lot of fire, and I it broke my heart because he was on my fantasy team last year when he tore his ACL, and I watched that play happen. I was like, man, I really hope that doesn't affect his career, because you saw a little bit, you saw that smoke and fire before he went down last year. They didn't have as much talent as they do now, but you saw the smoke and fire with him, and I was like, man, please don't let that affect this young man's career. And he came back, comeback player of the year. I think they got voted on this week. And
Him or Bosa, that's tough. That's actually a good comparison right there. Maybe we can get into that sometime this week. We'll go through our predictions on the yearly awards and whatnot. But yeah, he came back, and to me, he's third in the MVP list, since we were just talking about that. It's Brady, Rodgers 1 and 2, and then I think he's kind of the third guy. The way he finished the year, the way he's been putting the team on his back, he's earned it, man. He's up there. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the league, and that's why they have a chance to go to that AFC Championship game. One more week, man. We'll see.
yeah.
The next game, dude, it was New England at Buffalo.
Oh
Wasn't much of a
man.
game.
I'll take this one,
But
man, because
woo,
Buffalo's my AFC pick. They've been my AFC pick. They made me a little nervous there in early December, but that game was 0 degree. I mean, it was cold.
it
The
was like
fan
4 or
base there
5
in
degrees.
Buffalo, they're getting revved up for that team right now. I know they may not have any more home games, but I'm going to talk about that offensive performance against a Bill Belichick led defense. Josh Allen played. I mean, he had more touchdown passes than he did incomplete passes. I haven't seen his rating. I'd be shocked if it wasn't a 158.3. He combined for 370 yards, 5 touchdowns. They went 7 for 7 with him on offensive drives for touchdowns, and then they let Trubisky do the kneel downs. It was the most complete, perfect offensive game I've ever
Can't
seen.
do anything better.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, that's as perfect as you are going to get in an NFL game. To do it in the playoffs, in that weather, in the fashion they did it, you can't really get much better than that. So, hey Luke, how you doing, buddy? So I I remember watching that game, man. I was sitting there, and
Masterclass, bro.
I was in awe of that
I
performance.
was talking to Chris the week before, because you were out of town or whatever, and for whatever reason, I never heard it, but he brought up this whole Josh Allen doesn't like cold weather bull crap. And I was
That's
like, yeah,
bullshit.
right. I was like, watch this dude. I was like, he's a big boy. Watch him, cut it through that wind. Whatever he's got to do, that dude's going to do it. And you already just said it, 4 incompletions, 5 touchdowns, a masterclass performance. You can't do it any better. That showdown he's got next week, him and Patty, that's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, again, we're going to talk about all that on Friday, but real quick, I think my early prediction in that game, the reason why I like Buffalo coming out of the AFC this year is I think they are the most complete team, offensive, defensive combined. They can run the ball. They have a quarterback who's playing out of his mind right now. I know they don't have Trey White, but they still have a loaded secondary. They can rush the passer. I mean, they're complete across the board. They're well coached. They can play in cold weather. They can play anywhere they need to play.
Right.
But you know what? What I'm going to say right now is there's a picture that you're going to see on social media all over the place of Stephon Diggs. He at the AFC Championship game last year, after the clock hit 0, he stopped and he watched, Casey celebrate. They're going to be fired up on Sunday. They are going to be fired up. They are going to be ready to knock them in the mouth. You think they were excited to hit the Patriots in the mouth? Think about how they want to come, the AFC champions. They want to come back and they
In
want to win
Kansas City, too?
in Kansas City. They've already smacked him in the mouth. Josh Allen has kind of already made a comment about how Patrick Mahomes is like his kryptonite while getting the dog off his back earlier this year. I think he wants to show
they
it
already gave
again.
him a whooping this year already. So they want round 2. They want some more, man. They want to prove a point in the playoffs, because regular season's whatever. Anything could happen. Chiefs probably weren't really sweating that game. Probably meant a lot more to Buffalo, but this one means even more, because they got knocked out in the playoffs before. Josh Allen, it's all about quarterbacks ascending, right? Certain guys, you got to go through your lumps. Mahomes, he's rare. We hardly ever seen a guy just burst onto the scene, MVP, Super Bowl, all that crap, that quick. Guys, normally you got to make the playoffs, advance a game, maybe lose one. You know, Josh Allen, he's been through all that. He's looks like right now he's like, I've had enough. I'm not losing. I'm doing whatever the hell I got to do, whether it's run, pass, throw to my tight end, running backs, you name it. He is
Mhm.
just the open man. The whatever play needs to be made, that dude's making it.
Yeah, you don't see him going feet first. I mean, you see him run out of bounds a couple of times, like that saves his ass a little bit, but that guy's going face first. He's jumping over guy. I mean, he wants to win. You know,
Right.
I watched a little bit of a documentary about him, and he went to a JUCO college, and he wasn't getting offers anywhere. He was sending his tapes to every single D1 school in the nation. 138 schools got this kid's tape, and
Yeah.
one school took a shot on him, and that was Wyoming. And so anybody that just wants to sit here and say he doesn't like to play in cold weather, they don't know football. This fool played in Wyoming. Yeah, I think he's a California kid, or he comes from warm weather, but he played in Wyoming. Obviously, played well enough to be drafted in the NFL, and now plays in Buffalo, the coldest place to play probably in the NFL, maybe other than Green Bay. I'm
Yeah, up
sorry,
there. It's
you can't sit here and say that this kid does not like to play in the cold. And he went out there without sleeves. I could
I'm
sit
sure
here
if
and
you
talk
asked
about it
him,
all
like
day.
if you asked him, like, hey, do you like playing in the gold? Like, if you ask me, no, but would you? Like obviously he can. Look at him. He's done it time and time again. So that whatever that rumor is, whatever that is, that's been put to bed. He answered that in a big, big way.
He's a
And
gamer, man. He's gonna go out no
yeah,
matter. Yeah, he's
yeah,
gonna
he's a
rock.
dog. That was a big one, man. That concluded Saturday's slate, and Sunday morning, that's when my boys took care of business, like we kind of all expected. So we're only spent a whole bunch of time talking about this one. Bucks advanced. The biggest takeaway for me on that game is
Your,
Tristan Wirfs.
I was gonna say your offensive
Period.
line, man.
Is well, Jensen came back. He's gonna be fine. But Tristan Wirfs, he's the big one because this week against Aaron Donald, they got obviously I said Aaron Donald against the Rams. They have Aaron Donald, and they got Von Miller, dude, who looked
Mhm.
like old Von Miller. So we're gonna need Tristan. They got Leonard Floyd. They got some guys. So Tristan, his availability is gonna be huge. I think he'll end up gutting it out. It was his ankle. He tried to play, but when he tried to come back in, he got abused. You could tell it wasn't right, and then the backup even got worked out a few times. So, protecting Tom's always been the most important thing to do. So, if we don't have Tristan, that's going to be huge. We're going to have to, leave Gronk on the right side to help with protection. And if he can't go out and he's got to stay in and block, that obviously hurts us because we're limited at receiver. So health, like we talked about earlier, the biggest time of year, and then us losing Tristan, that's my biggest takeaway. Even though we won, but Tristan, that's the big one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the offensive line. I mean, even Ryan Jensen got banged up a little bit in that game. I know he's good to go. He's gonna play. And center is a big one because the exchange from center to quarterback, can make a difference in a game, believe it or not. But especially when you got Aaron Donald sitting across the line from you. But going back to Sunday's game, you saw Mike Evans. I mean, Darius Slay he was abusing him. I mean, we talk about Mike Evans, and sometimes he'll have difficulty, against some cornerbacks here or there. Mainly the guy from New Orleans. I can't think of his name right now. I can't.
Lattimore, Marshawn.
Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore. I can't stand that guy, so I always forget his name. But he has his troubles. But Mike Evans, I mean, as much as you may hear me talk, I don't really talk smack about him. I'm not as high on him as you are, obviously, but he abused Darius Slay. And going into this game against Jalen Ramsey, I got into it with a guy on Facebook today. I'm not a Jalen Ramsey hater. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a trash cornerback. I don't think this kid is as game as everybody makes him sound to be. Okay, so you can sit here and you can throw stats at me all you want. You can sit here and throw me, okay, so when Justin Jefferson lined up against him in man, well, you know what? The Rams were lined up in zone for 60% of that game against
Right.
Minnesota. And
He
then
really doesn't shadow them like that.
man on man, he lined up to so I did my own stats. He lined up man on man against Justin Jefferson 20 times in that game, whether it was a run or pass. I don't know how many pass plays, but 20 snaps was a pass play. He was targeted 5 times. So that's 25% they were throwing at Jalen Ramsey. 3 of those were complete for 24 yards. Okay. So you sit here and say, oh, well, he only got 3 for 24. No, he didn't. Justin Jefferson caught 11 balls for 100 and something yards and a touchdown in that game. And just because they were in a zone, it was still direct coverage was still Jalen Ramsey. He was still routing Jalen Ramsey in those zones, and he was still beating him off. He was beating him. Okay.
Right.
DA in that game last year, Devontae Adams in that game last year, absolutely routed him twice in the red zone. And I mean, he can't. DeAndre Hopkins is known to go against this guy when they were in Houston and Jacksonville. And now they're still in the same division in with LA and Arizona. DeAndre Hopkins abuses this guy. And, they always say, oh, well, he only got 3 receptions in direct coverage. Well, that's when they're man on man, when they're playing man. LA doesn't play man very often. They don't go straight man across the board very often. And if they do that, Brady and Mike are gonna tear him apart.
Yeah, he's not like no one's worried to go at Ramsey, like you just said, he doesn't really shadow guys. He's not Revis Island over there. He doesn't just lock on one guy and just take him out of the game. He doesn't shadow guys like that. That's not his thing. One of his strengths actually is playing zone and even playing in the nickel sometimes because his ability to tackle and do other things, so he's not a guy that's going to shadow Mike. And even if he does, that's okay. You shadow Mike, then Gronk, he's going to have a day. What linebacker, what safety, they had just had both their safeties out. So I have a feeling Ramsey's going to, there's going to be a mix up. If he's on Gronk sometimes, he's on Mike sometimes. But if you're Tom, we know Tom's going to know where he's at, where he's going to, he's not going to force anything, but he's also not going to be afraid of him. Mike, I saw Mike Evans, in person last year score, I think, at least 1, maybe 2 touchdowns on him. This year, again, even though we lost our last 2 meetings, Mike has had no issues, getting open on Ramsey. So I don't think that a lot of people want to hype that matchup up. I don't think that's really what it's going to come down to. Honestly, I think it's going to be the 2 defenses. What defense is going to force the most turnovers? That was another big takeaway for me was it was 31-0 against Philly. They were supposed to be a running team. We got Levante back. We got Shaq back. JPP is back. Our corners are back. So our defense looked like the defense from last postseason. If they can continue that, that's what's going to really carry us through because our offense is shorthanded. Lenny was out. Godwin's out, So we got guys missing. But defensively, if our defense steps up the way they can, then that's what's going to really help us against LA because they got, OBJ is freaking – he looks like he's back in a big way. So we're going to have they're going to have our hands full. That's for damn sure. We'll get more into that matchup.
He was the number 1 PFF receiver last week, man. I mean, on route
the whole
ran,
NFL.
Yeah. And, he had 2 or 3 plays called back because of penalty. I mean, he had a massive game basically taken away from him because of holds. I mean, he looked incredible.
He was feeling good, man. You could tell he had that juices flowing. He was good, man.
It just goes to show how much of a shit show Cleveland is, man. I mean, to make that guy
not so much
how
Cleveland.
good he's looked.
I'll put that on Baker. It's not so much Cleveland, man. It's Baker because Jarvis.
Yeah.
Jarvis is about to flourish somewhere else. I think his contract expires. He's a free agent. Jarvis is going to end up getting out of there too, man, unless they get a new quarterback. So we'll see. We'll see what happens down there. But I mean, that as far as Tampa and Philly, like we said, Tampa just stay healthy, and then we'll see them next round.
Well, what makes Tom the reason why I still like the Bucks going out of, I like the Bucks. Whoever wins this game, I like both these teams. But I never, one of my rules is you never go against the GOAT. And, especially that game in Tampa, he's going to find his matchup that he likes, and he's going to go after it all game long. And that matchup to me, if they're playing man, it's going to be Mike on Jalen. And that's going to be the matchup he's going to go after. The Rams are missing both their safeties. They had to go take a guy off a couch, that's been sitting for the last 2 years. And he's their starting safety, and he couldn't play the entire game.
He don't want none of 87. He don't want no part of 87.
Yeah, so that's where Brady's going to be looking, and they're going to try to match him up. They're going to try to get those matchups, and I think they're going to find them, man. And I think they're going to be okay. On the other side of the ball, like you said, if the defense shows up like they did on Sunday, it's going to be really tough. I don't care how good the Rams are. It's going to be really tough to go into Brady's house no matter where it's at and, take one from him. So
we'll see. Fingers crossed. That's going to be one hell of a matchup. I remember before the season started, once they got Stafford, I'm like, damn, dude, they really went for it. They're going all in. That was a team I was worried about. I was like, dude, I'm going to see them in the NFC Championship game. Packers are obviously a little bit better than I thought. I thought with the A-Rod situation, there might be a little bit of, turmoil, but they got clicking. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun matchup. The next game on Sunday was the Niners at Dallas. Man, what a fun
This
one.
was the
That was
one I got
maybe
wrong, man. You know, there was one game that I watched when I was actually in Miami. Well, I was getting ready for my cruise, and it was that Eagles and Dallas game, week 18. And I like Dak, man. I try to root for the Cowboys. I can't stand their fan base. Oh, this is our year every fucking year. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about how this is the Cowboys year and this and this and this. You know, I've been saying for years, Mike McCarthy he's not a very good head coach. They need to move on from him. But I really, really like Dak. I think he's a great leader. I think they have all the talent in the world. So going into that San Francisco game, I thought they were going to handle business. San Francisco is a team where if they start playing their kind of ball, they're a tough team to beat. But I just thought, Dallas has more talent. They're at home. Everything was going for them. They're getting healthy, blah, 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 blah. And they
they
laid a
should have won
fucking
that
egg.
game.
Yeah.
They should
They
have won the
laid,
game.
they shot themselves in the foot 14 fucking times with penalties. They,
Postseason NFL record, 14 penalties.
and then
And
you
that
hear that.
stupid time, Randy Gregory, quick shout out, Randy Gregory. You, man, oh my God, how many penalties did that guy personally make? Like he had all
Yeah.
kinds of issues coming in, and he went late in the draft because of all these, questions about his background and all this crap. And dude, he just took it personal. He straight up tackled, I think it was Trent Williams. He just goes and tackles him, defensive holding on 3rd and 10. They get the stop. They're about to get the ball back with a lot of time, and Dak could have got that done. But
That would have been the difference. That
dude,
would have been the time
so
they
many
needed to
penalties.
win.
And I mean, that's just one of, 14, but at the crucial times, like, my goodness, what are you guys doing?
Well, what pissed me off, man. I mean, we could talk about the refs, and one thing we forgot to talk about the refs in that Raiders and Bengals game, but we could talk about the refs in this game. And what pissed me off, and and I know he apologized about today, but Dak goes in and talk about the refs. Like, man, that wasn't the refs' fault. That was Dallas's fault. Being an undisciplined team, it's happened all year
They
long.
have to call those. Yeah, those they had to be called.
Yeah, they've lost games because of they're not undisciplined. They think that they're
Coaching, right?
untouchable. Yeah, they think
You
they're
mentioned
untouchable.
McCarthy.
But that starts, that starts up top with Jerry Jones as the owner and GM of that team. He's got, the ego of,
They
of the
also
world on his
drafted Dak
shoulders.
Prescott, drafted Micah Parsons. That dude's he drafted Diggs. He drafted Tyron Smith, the offensive line. He drafted everyone. He drafted that team,
Yeah.
basically. CD Lamb, even. He just got,
Yeah.
like,
And
so Jerry, the GM, is
and they
actually
go out
really, really
and they
good.
take, they take risks on guys. I mean,
Right.
they sit there and, they pulled CD Lamb before Justin Jefferson came off the board. And, I would say those two, honestly, talent wise, are very close together. This was the year I thought CD Lamb was going to, kind of have that really big breakout year. He had a good year, wasn't to the standards I thought he was going to be at, but, he just has the ego on his shoulders. It goes down to you can see it go down to the head coach, and you can see it go down to the team. You hear it in the fan base when they talk about their team, and, it just drives me insane year in, year out. And they have all the talent in the world, and they just can't seem to put it together. That fan base, for as elite as they think they are, they have as many playoff wins in their history as Tom Brady does. So it's not like they're the best team of all time. They're not. They don't have the most championships. They had their run in the 90s, of course. They had their run in the 70s, of
Been a
course.
long time.
But you know what? They've been very, very mediocre. And I know what mediocrity looks like because I'm a Vikings fan. They've been as mediocre as we have over the last 20 years. And so I don't want to hear about how they're the greatest team on the planet, because they're not.
They'll be back though. I mean, like you said, I think like the whole coaching thing. I think Chris mentioned it last week when he was on the show that Kellen Moore. He said if Dallas loses, Kellen Moore is gonna, probably get that job, and I can honestly see that happening. Jerry Jones, kept Kellen Moore from going to other, job places. When he was the quarterback's coach, he elevated him, up to offensive coordinator because he was going to get hired as an offensive coordinator somewhere
Mhm.
else. But Jerry, kept him, made him the highest paid, one of the highest offensive coordinators in the NFL. And, Jerry likes the guy. So I could easily see that happening. So, because Mike McCarthy, man, that's it. Like they had the talent, dude. They were the more talented team. They draft well. You have a quarterback. Like there's no excuse other than them beating themselves. So they got to make that change. I think McCarthy's, he's got to go.
Yeah, man, when he got hired, I kind of even said it back then that, I mean, I don't have it on record or anything like
Right.
that, but he was a bridge hire. And
I believe you.
yeah, when he left Green Bay, man, they couldn't get him out of there fast enough. Like Aaron Rodgers wanted that guy gone. And then when he got hired in Dallas, I sat there, I was like, really? Like, this is the guy you guys want to go with? Like, this is the future of your organization. I
Right.
said, so there's either one or two things. Like, they think that they're gonna win right now, or this guy's a bridge hire until they find that young, offensive minded stud that's gonna bring Dak to the next stratosphere. And yeah, I mean, if you look around the league right now, man, all the teams that are really up and coming, I mean, you have the Andy Reid, you still have the Belichicks that do their thing, you still have the Harbaughs. But if you look around the league, the teams that are up and coming are the ones that have these young, like offensive minded, just gurus. You look at
Just
Sean
look in the
McVay.
NFC.
Yeah,
Just Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and then who's the other NFC head coach? I know Tom Brady's older than all the other NFC head coaches. I think it's McVay, and then the NFC, and then it's
you're talking about Kingsbury. Oh,
Lafleur.
LaFleur, yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
Kingsbury, yeah.
McVay, Shanahan, all three young offensive-minded coaches, and all three in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, and they're all. I mean, and then, yeah, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, he's not. I don't think he's on the same level, but he made the
Oh, no, that's why
playoffs.
he just got. That's why they just got the boot.
Yeah, he made the playoffs though. But you're talking about, yeah, that's four teams right there in the NFC that have young head
Zach
coaches.
Taylor, Bengals.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Brandon Staley. I mean, I know they're excited about Chargers are excited about him. I mean, he's defensive minded, but they're excited about him. I don't think he's on the
They,
same stratosphere either, but
if you'd missed the
he's
playoffs with
35
Herbert
years
and that
old.
squad, that guy, I got my feelings for Staley. You can call him my Matt Rule for you because that dude,
No, Matt Rule.
there's no
I
way that dude, man.
guarantee
How do you
you.
miss the playoffs with Justin Herbert as your quarterback? You went for it all those times on fourth down. You cost your team more than you want it for your team. Yeah,
Oh,
he single-handedly,
oh,
you know,
that game against KC, man, that might have been the biggest coaching blunder of the year, other than my boy Matt Rule. But we could sit there and smash on that guy or those two guys all day long. That was the biggest blunder against Kansas City. They had that game in hand, and he fucking blew it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, he blew that game. All I mean is that he's a young guy that, but they do seem pretty excited about him down there. So but what I mean is that, in Dallas, you're talking about the new realm. You're talking about a new way of looking. And Kellen Moore might be the perfect fit. He played for Dallas. He's been in that system forever. I mean, he knows Dak. He knows that entire offense. It is his offense.
that's Jerry's boy too.
You bring in a DC. You bring in somebody that can run. Just be able to control that defense.
Maybe they
And
can keep Dan Quinn because I mean the defense was fine. Their defense
yeah,
wasn't really the problem. The offense was kind of the issue, and then coaching like on. I think no, never mind. That was actually the Niners. Speaking of the Niners, we spent all this time talking about the losing team. The Niners looked freaking pretty great,
yeah,
dude. Well, not great. I shouldn't say that, but, because Jimmy threw a pretty careless interception on one play. Debo though, is as advertised, man. That
mhm.
dude is freaking awesome. Jimmy, he makes just enough plays as you need him to make. The big question mark for them this week is Bosa. He left the game with a concussion, so is he going to be able to play? Because Bakhtiari is back for the Packers. It's going to be cold. They're so Rodgers, getting pressure on him is going to be crucial. So having Bosa available could be, a determining factor in that game. So
And
hopefully he
that's
can.
another one of those storyline games, man. Like the Niners like to run the ball, and they are exotic when they run the ball. And this was, I mean, I'm glad you got us back on the Niners because that play call, I know they didn't get the first down. I texted Josh, right when that play call, I think I texted you, I texted Josh, I was like, that was the play call of the year. I thought they got the first down. I actually got up, went to the bathroom, man. I thought the game was over. I kind of walked back in. I saw Dallas driving. I was like, what the fuck happened? Did they fumble snap or something? Well, I thought they got the first down. I saw, I went back and I saw they reviewed it. But that play call, how they run the ball on 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, whatever that was.
Debo, yeah.
Get the ball into Debo's hands. He knew that, that motion bringing the guy across, they were gonna, overplay that motion. And he basically had 10 yards of free space to run. What a play call that was, man.
I was talking crap on him. I mean, I think he kind of got like, yeah, give Shanahan credit on that one, but it was the drive before they had it 4th and 1 on I think it was the 45 of Dallas. Dallas is 45, so they were past midfield. They're in that kind of dicey range, but it's 4th and 1, and I think there was like a minute, almost 2 minutes, whatever it was. And like, I'm like, dude, I was telling my brother, go for it, go for it, go for it. Because my brother's a huge Niner fan. Like, you got to go for it, especially with Bosa out, Warner, nicked up, your defenders were out. I'm like, dude, put it in your offense's hands. You got Kittle, you got Debo, you got Elijah Mitchell, you got Trent Williams. Your offense is fine. Trust your offense. And they didn't go for it on 4th and 1. I'm like, what the hell? They took the penalty, delay a game, and they ended up punting it. Everything worked out fine, because Dallas, didn't get it. But man, you gave them a chance when you could have just went for it. I thought they should have won the game, before that. But hey, he gets the credit. They win. Good for him. And I was hoping they did because they match up, man, with Green Bay. The last 3 times Aaron Rodgers has played Green Bay, that matchup is a pretty good matchup.
And
Historically, currently, that's going to be fun.
I come from the NFC North, man. So I know the Packers really, really well. The way you beat them is you run the ball down their throats. And guess what San Francisco likes to do? They like to run the ball down people's throats. And, the way they're going to do it, that's going to be a game. But on the other side of the ball, guess what San Francisco can't do very well? They can't defend the pass very well. So I'm not going to sit here and say Green Bay is going to get smoked because, but it's one of those games. Who's going to stop the other team first? And I mean, I like Green Bay in that game. It's going to be cold. It's, Jimmy's a little banged up. Bosa's a little banged up. Sounds like Green Bay's getting healthy. They had the rest, Aaron's going to come out.
They got Jair back. Bakhtiari's back. Zadarius Smith, their edge guy, he's supposed to play. So they've been waiting for this. The Packers have been kind of in cruise control until this moment. So, I'm expecting them to actually start pretty damn fast. It's going to be up to San Francisco to weather that storm. But we'll get into the predictions, a little bit later. Good for San Francisco to get that done. They showed up when they needed
to be the only road team. Be the only road team to win. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Pretty sure they're the only road team to win. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's, and Dallas isn't like a nightmare to play in, but, they were not favoring that game at all. So.
Niners, like Bosa said, man, we're America's team. I don't know about all that, but they do travel well. So, that was good for the Niners to get that done on Sunday night. The Sunday night game, another one that really wasn't much of a game. Big Ben's farewell, game, Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Congrats to Big Ben for getting there, but man, they didn't really do much.
I watched TJ Watt, in the first little part of that game.
Right.
And then I started, dozing off. Again, I had a flight that day. I started getting tired. Jet lag got me a little bit. So I started dozing off. I wake up, it's 21-7. I doze off again. I wake up again, it's 35-7. Like, that game just got out of hand real fast.
Yeah.
KC is obviously the way better team. Pittsburgh was one of those teams like, hey, congratulations, you got there. You were handed a golden gift from, the Colts and Chargers. They were not better than either of those teams.
For freaking calling that damn timeout. Dude, the Raiders, I don't know if you ever seen that video. I forget what Raider it was. telling Eckler, "Hey man, we're about to go. We were gonna, go
We're
for
gonna
the
tie
tie."
and
And
let you guys in. Yeah,
Eckler was like, "What? Oh my god!" And your
yeah.
boy Staley.
I saw those
My boy.
videos, man. Again, I didn't watch. They had the games on the cruise, but it was about 50 people around one television. So I didn't really sit there and watch the games too much. I was, drinking and having a good time. So I didn't I didn't really watch the week 18 games like I should have. But yeah, man, I saw that video after and I was just like, man, like I kind of thought
Staley,
like if
dude,
that
he's
game goes to
awesome.
overtime, like that game's gonna come. It's gonna come down
No,
to a
you
tie.
could tell the way the Raiders, like, they hadn't, like, they weren't urgent. They were urgent to kind of go at first, but then they got to stop. I think it was like 3rd and 10 or whatever, and then you could tell they were like kind of like chilling, and then like Jacobs just had like a 11-yard run to get the first down, and then he's like, all right, they call timeout, so they ended up go for it. Anyway, Staley cost them big time on that one. So the Steelers, hey, Big Ben, thank you. He said so. The Steelers got in, man.
Hey, he got to the
Um,
playoffs, man. Nobody thought they were gonna do that. I mean, they obviously it wasn't the offense. It wasn't Ben that brought them there. It was that defense. And their defense wasn't that good this year. But T.J. Watt was that good this year,
right. Right.
and he was all that was advertised in at least the first half of that game, and then it kind of got away from him. But
Right.
yeah, KC's that team, man. But they got Buffalo coming up, and that team they're not. That's not Pittsburgh.
Right.
I know Pittsburgh
I
beat
think the
Buffalo
winner of
this
that
year,
game
but
is probably going to represent the AFC. My bracket, I had
I think so
Buffalo,
too.
just because that matchup, between those two quarterbacks. For whatever reason, like if you'd asked me a year ago, whatever, oh, Mahomes all day. But right now, I just believe in Josh Allen a little bit more. He just brings more to the table, I feel, right now. Like, I know Patty has the arm angles, the left hand, all this stuff, but what Josh Allen can do with his legs, and the way he's able to extend plays, dude, the way he extended that one play, I think it was the longest play in I don't know how many years of a pass
9.3
play.
seconds from
Yeah, dude. For
the
him to
time
just
that he snapped the ball to the time that he threw the ball.
because he can push a defensive lineman to the ground with his left hand, and move. He's more elusive than you think, and then he turns on the jets when he needs to. That dude, man, I trust him right now. I obviously have him in the Super Bowl. You can see my Super Bowl bracket, in the comment section. I posted it last week. I was 6-0 week 1, no big
Mm-hmm.
deal. But yeah, it'll be there. I have them in the Super Bowl, man. Josh Allen is the biggest reason why. Him and Mahomes, that matchup. Who's gonna make more plays? Plain and simple. That one's gonna be. Who's gonna score 40? Who's gonna score 40 something? Because
They
it's
might
it's
both,
gonna be
man. They might
needed.
both.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be, yeah, exactly. It's gonna be needed. That's for sure. So we'll
Yeah.
get more into that one. When the time comes.
Real
When we make
quick,
our
man.
prediction.
Honest to God, was he throwing that ball away to Dawson Knox? Was he throwing that ball away? Or was that a Dwight Clark play? I heard the commentators talk about,
Oh,
that was Dwight Clark-esque. I was like, calm the fuck down with that. First of all, it's not the Super Bowl. And I think Josh was actually trying to
They
throw
only
the
had a
ball
big
to
lead.
him.
It wasn't a close game, so
Yeah,
but it
I
was
mean,
still a hell of a play, man.
it was, you know what? Hey, no, play of that
I
game.
think he was. I don't think he was throwing it away. I think he was giving
I
his
think
guys
he was
because that's what
trying
you
to,
do. You
yeah,
kind of like drop it in the trash can, to where it's either your guy or no guy.
yeah,
So I think it was just one of those
exactly.
balls.
Whereas Joe Montana was throwing that ball away. I
Yeah.
mean, so
And then
that's a little bit
homeboy went up
different.
and said, "Snatch, bring me
But the
that."
play of that game, no, the play of that game that swung that entire game, and I even, I made a couple jokes about this play, but it was probably one of the best defensive play of the year was Micah Hyde pick, man, because that was a good throw. That was a really good
Oh, you're
throw.
going back to New England Buffalo. Yeah, yeah. Mac Jones made a hell of a throw.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, I forgot what game we were talking about, but yeah, man, that
We were
throw.
on no, we got on the Bills because we talked about we were on the Pittsburgh
Oh
and
yeah,
Kansas
yeah,
City
yeah.
and
Sorry, that Micah
Buffalo.
Hyde pick. We
When
didn't talk about
we
that.
brought up your Bills again. No, but that honestly,
Woo.
we should have touched on that play earlier because that
Yeah,
play
that was
was.
that
When's
one
the
of the
last time we seen, yeah, a free safety, with that range to get over
maybe Ed
there,
Reed.
and clean too, to make it
Yeah,
clean on the ball, like, dude, it was beautiful, beautiful
in
play,
the
that's for sure.
snow, that ball was
Right.
probably as hard as a rock.
Accurately thrown ball.
Yeah.
Right, for sure, for sure. But
So
Chiefs are looking like they're revving up, so that's gonna be a fun battle next week. That took care of the Sunday slate. Monday night, the game last night, another game that really wasn't much of a game. Man, Kyler Murray for the Cardinals, he just looked I don't want to put it all on him, but man, he just didn't look like he had any sense of urgency. He didn't look like he was up for the moment. He just looked at, and I don't know if you blame that on Kingsbury, whatever, but like, I know they didn't have, Hopkins, but one guy can't mean that much to a team, especially a receiver. You got AJ Green, you got Rondale Moore, you got Christian Kirk, you got Zach Ertz, you got two good running backs. Like, what the hell, man?
You
They
know,
weren't able to do anything.
so two things about this game. I knew the Rams were going to come out and play the way they did. It didn't surprise me that they came out.
They play well at home.
And yeah, they were motivated. That series was 1-1. They kind of got embarrassed earlier in the year by the Cardinals in their home arena. I put this on Kingsbury, number one, because they were not running the ball in the first half. I understand that the Rams kind of came out hot, like OBJ caught that touchdown early, like you kind of felt it swinging, but James Conner, they had a healthy Chase
They had some
Edmonds.
nice runs.
They
when they
weren't
would run it.
They weren't mixing it in at all, and that team likes to play. They like to take shots and they like to go down the field, and you can't do that if you don't run the ball.
Right.
Your play action means
Right.
absolute shit if you can't run
Yeah,
the ball.
third and long. Yeah, if you're not in a manageable situation, then it doesn't mean anything.
So what that allows the defense to do is pin their ear back and get after Kyler. And if you pressure that guy, you saw that with that stupid ass pick six that he threw. If you pressure him, he's going to fold like a cupcake, man. And he did the entire game. Aaron Donald was getting in there. Von Miller had a hell of a fucking game.
He's back.
DJ
I guess he
Reader
was just saving it the whole time because he didn't
yeah.
do shit the whole time he got there, and all of a sudden playoff time, flip that switch, and that dude is getting going, dude.
Yeah, DJ Reader was the one that got pressure on that pick six. They were all kind of getting in that, they were sending safeties, they were sending corners because they could. They weren't going to run the ball, so they had no regrets of sending extra players. So it's
right. Yeah, that Monday night game, it really wasn't much of a game, but my biggest takeaway, honestly, for me, my biggest takeaway out of that game is Cam Akers.
Yeah, Cam Akers.
That dude,
really good.
Man,
good.
He's got the juice back. For me, honestly, maybe a top 3 to 5 fantasy pick next year. Like, I think he's going to be that good. And I think, just watching him, dude, that ball, Odell Beckham threw him a ball that was a little underthrown. Even Stafford threw him a ball that he didn't really locate, but he had another touchdown. If Stafford was able to lead him just a little bit more, he still could have caught it. He wasn't able to track it. He still should have back shouldered it and able to make the catch. But just seeing him run, seeing how explosive he is. The hit that he did to Budda Baker, like the way he finished that run, like I know he, everyone wanted the taunting penalty for letting him know like that he's a little dude, whatever, but he didn't know that he was that hurt. So I'm not, gonna call him a piece of crap or anything like that. Like, dude was just playing hard and running hard. He finished a few runs like that, dude, where he finished those runs and coming off that injury to have that kind of explosiveness, to have that kind of finish, like he adds an element that team didn't really have, because Sonny Michel is a good between the tackle runner. He's a good tough runner. He can break some tackles, do all that crap. But this dude, man, Cam Akers brings some juice, and then even OBJ look good, man. They look ready. They look scary right now.
Yeah, going back, just touch on that hit real quick. Like, yeah, he did that thing, and that's football, man. He was talking about, he's a small dude. Hey, you need to go lower, whatever he's taunting. But then you saw what he was doing once he realized he was hurt. He was kind of praying for the guy, had his head down. He wanted to make sure he's all right. And that I know taunting is part of the game, man. These guys are grown men. They talk shit all game long. It's gonna come.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna come. But once he realized, like, hey, man, this guy's actually hurt. Like, yeah, he was. You could see it written on his face. Like, he's like, oh, okay, like,
right.
So
no one wants to see that.
But talking about this guy's toughness, dude, to tear your Achilles in May and to come back 7 months later, people don't realize how devastating that could be. A career-ending injury, devastating, just like an ACL. How devastating of an injury that is. To have the want to come back, number one, but then to have the fire to come back and play that way in just the second week back. It takes some time for guys to get the feel of the game down, whether you're in high school, college, or, especially the pros, man. Like, you talk to anybody who's played the pros, it's a different speed. and you have to
Yeah.
get used to it. And it's just,
He is though,
we
man. They did a
played.
good job with him, like, and for those, I know we brought up Derrick Henry earlier. Like, if this is any indication, guys can come back and boom, they can get, because this
Mhm,
dude, and he was still on a snap count because they got Sonny Michel. You can't, the way he's been playing, you can't just get him off the field. Sonny
mhm.
Michel, he's been running well, so you got to play him. But
Well, and you
Akers,
don't want to too. I mean, you don't
man,
want to wear that guy out either.
right? But just seeing Akers, man, I was really impressed with that guy. Like, I'm going high on him in the draft next year. Hopefully, like I can kind of keep that to myself because they can
Mhm.
lose this week, and then like, and he doesn't have a huge game, and so nobody's really too aware of him. But who knows, man? He's gonna be hard to deal with.
We're gonna start doing shows to where we're gonna start doing the way too early drafts for next year, and he was one of my guys that was going to go. I don't know about top 5 because I think there's guys that, volume like the Jonathan Taylors, still Dalvin Cook. Like these guys are still going to get more volume. And
I got Akers over Dalvin.
I don't, so both those guys healthy. Dalvin still, I mean, Cam's getting there. He's getting there. They both from Florida State. They're boys,
That's a good
but,
point. Yeah, for sure.
um, but I
But
still do.
just
I think
what he,
still,
like those wheel routes, man, that Cam can do and the explosiveness, like, and the offense
yeah.
that he's in, I go Cam.
Yeah. We can talk about comparisons a little bit later,
Right.
a couple of weeks from now. But I still got some guys that we'll go. You talk about ADP. We could talk about what we're gonna do, but you talk about ADPs. I mean, Dalvin's gonna be top 3. Jonathan Taylor's probably be 1.1. Like it's gonna be that way. Cam Akers, might be that that Jonathan Taylor, where Jonathan Taylor went this year, that might be the Cam Akers for next year. The 1.8, 1.9, like back end of the first round. And if you get a
Ooh.
fucking steal in the top second, like some guys did this year, like that could be where he goes. And he could be a steal. He could be a league winner for you, of course, if he stays healthy. But yeah, I mean, that's going into next year. But yeah, like you said, man, and he had 3 or 4 plays called back because of penalty. Also, like Rams didn't play the smoothest game,
Mm-mm.
penalty wise either, and they still smoked them. So I mean, that's
Right.
how good of a game they could have played. But Whitworth had a couple. He had a couple tackles.
Penalties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I mean, he was a step slow. So and that could come into play if he's still down. Shaq
He's gonna,
Barrett's
yeah. I mean,
plays are
he's
going to
gonna
come
have to
out.
go. He's gonna have to try to block Shaq or JPP. Even like
Yeah.
our rookie Joe Tryon has been stepping up. Anthony Nelson. So we got some guys off the edge. We're multiple. We blitz more than anyone. So we'll see. That's going to be a fun matchup. We'll get more into the predictions on Friday's show. That basically wraps it up. That was my biggest takeaway anyway. Was Cam Akers and OBJ. For
Mm-hmm.
me, Cooper Kupp, he's consistent and he's a guy that, like, he beats you with his mind. Like, he knows what you're in, and but Cam Akers and OBJ, like, they add other elements to this Rams team that make them, like, even more explosive, because those guys are nasty. Cooper Kupp, he's just so smart. He's like a quarterback playing receiver. Like, he always knows what it is, man zone. He knows exactly where to go. Like, he's not a guy that he's pretty strong though. I mean, you can see all the yards after a catch. I think he's like most in the NFL the last few years, yards after catch. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we got our hands full, man. It's gonna be a fun game.
You
Not
know, you
stressful,
know,
stressful
he
game.
made 2 plays in that game. I just thought the touchdown, that catch he made on the touchdown, that was about to throw. And to make that catch, I mean, that was a pretty elite catch.
Right,
Let's just put it that
right.
way. And then he made another play where it was just a simple 8-yard out. He turned it into 25, man. And it's just things like that you have to praise. And it's not the fact that he's pretty athletic, don't get me wrong, but he's not like the most freakish athlete you've ever seen in your life. He's not the Calvin Johnson. So to have to be pushing Calvin Johnson, I know he had the extra game, but to be pushing Calvin, with that guy
Yeah,
was, they call him Megatron for a reason. That dude was a fucking beast every
freak
way
show.
around it. And I mean, he ran 4.4 speed, 4.3 speed, being that tall, he was a freak. And to be able to be in the same breath as that guy, is pretty incredible. But the plays that he makes to do it's completely different. He turns 8 yards into 53, 55-yard touchdowns because of some of the moves he makes, because he expects guys to overrun him. He makes the cuts at the right time.
Right. He just
It's
puts
just,
on the brakes real quick, lets him go by. It makes it look so easy too. It's crazy. It almost looks like he's in slow motion, dude.
yeah.
He's so smart. He always knows what's up, man.
He's
It's
very
crazy.
quickly becoming one of my favorites, just because, the way he plays, and when you hear him do interviews, he's a very wholesome person too.
He's a
So
quarterback receiver combination kind of guy, like him and Stafford, like whether it's a man zone option route, whatever it is, like they're in sync, and it's pretty impressive for that quickly for him to know. And that's just because he can trust, quarterbacks is going to see it a quarterback's way. And for him to know Cooper Kupp sees it the same way, and it is always right there where he needs him to be. Because sometimes he has he'll throw it like into almost triple coverage or right in the middle of a zone where it just drops in one spot and he's like anticipating and it just drops right there to him, man. It's impressive. I don't want to keep talking about these goddamn
next
Rams,
year's
dude, though. They're driving me crazy.
next year they're gonna have some decisions to make though, man. If they want to bring OBJ back, because they're gonna have a healthy Robert Woods too, and that guy, people forget about him.
OBJ's a free agent, so they're gonna have to decide what they do with Robert Woods. Because to me, like I honestly feel like OBJ is a slightly better fit because Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are more similar. They're the guys that play inside. They do a lot of the dirty work. They like to block and do all that. Jefferson's your burner, and then you got OBJ, who's just your like do it all. Great route runner, great hands. Because you can see them on fourth down go to OBJ sometimes. OBJ, his hands are back. Like he's had some really nice catches. So OBJ, to me, he's got more talent. To me, like that's the kind of way I would want to lean. But how they can work it out, like you said, financially, they got some decisions to make. I don't know how the contract situations look like. I know they have no draft picks, have no money because they, sold their souls for the Super Bowl right now in their home stadium. So they're going completely all in for this year. Next year, like you said, they got a bunch of decisions they're going to have to make.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do, man. But kind of to end the show, though, we missed some topics that it's actually a big topic in the NFL world. I mean, I'm just gonna go on a rant here real quick. People that talk about, oh, my team lost because of the refs, this and this and this. Let me talk. Okay, so Raider fans say that you lost because of the refs. Let me tell you something about that play. Now you're gonna hear, Terry McAulay talk about, oh, well, there was a blatant misuse of the whistle. First of all, Burrow threw that ball before that whistle was blown. So they're not going to call the play dead with the ball in the fucking air. So Raider fans, you can shut your mouths about that.
Yeah, you're just hoping for a savior, a magic whistle. Save me.
Oh my God, yeah. Okay, he didn't step out of bounds, number 2. So stop saying he stepped out of bounds. He didn't step out of bounds. Okay, your players stopped. Oh, well, players are taught to play through the whistle. Yeah, okay, but when the ball's in the air, you don't stop playing. I mean, yeah, should that whistle been blown? No, it shouldn't have. That play was still legal. It was still a touchdown. Any way you slice it, it was still going to be a touchdown. They made the right call because they don't have audio. They don't have audio replay on the snap. They actually have to go and piece that together with New York. There's a lot that goes into that for them to have to overturn that. They made the right call on the field and they stuck by the right call on that play. Right. So don't sit here and say that you lost the game because of that, because you didn't. Number 2, you guys got a call in the second half to where Burrow got a 40-yard bomb plus a 15-yard penalty, and then there was a phantom timeout called. That timeout was not called before that play was snapped. Right, so you guys actually got saved in the second half. So don't sit here and tell me that the refs were on the Bengals side. Okay. Going on to the Cowboys, you're going to sit here and talk about smack on they were on the Niners side the entire fucking time. No, they fucking weren't. You committed 14 penalties in that game. You played undisciplined football. That's why you lost to a team who played better than you on that game. And for the fact that you guys had a chance to win that game, I would sit here and say maybe the refs were on your side. To overturn that call by an inch, that's a really tough call to overturn in the final 2 minutes of a playoff game when they made a perfect call. That's a tough call to overturn. Okay. So that's just Cowboy and Raider fans, however you want to slice it. These guys cry about every fucking thing every fucking year, and I'm sick and tired of it. So if you guys are listening to me, I want you to know that I know the game of football. And that call and those calls in the Raider game were right. Okay. Yeah. Was it controversial? Sure. is, are they going to be calling another playoff game for the rest of the playoffs? No, because they had 3 really weird instances in that football game, and you can't have that in the playoffs. Doesn't mean they were the wrong call. So learn the game of football before you start running your mouths.
You're damn right. No, I mean, they were the only 2 really close games. So, of course, you're going to complain. But to me, like, I mean, my 2 cents on the situation, like you said, one play here, one play there doesn't really define the game. If you're Dallas fans, you can't be mad at the refs, man. Like, we all saw them committing those penalties. You know, it is what it
And then
is.
you
Like you
ran the
said.
ball with 12 seconds left down the middle with no timeouts left.
Right.
So don't
So
sit here
you
and
got
say you lost the game
right,
because the ref made one call.
right,
No,
right.
no.
Play
So
better, man. There's this time of year, it's about, like we said earlier, guys are going to be hurt. Every team that's playing right now is going to deal with injuries. You're going to have, calls go your way. Who stays in it? Who stays focused and who finds a way, man? That's what it's about this time of year, finding a way, win in advance, man. Win in advance.
yeah, man. So yeah, man, I'm excited for our previews. I think tomorrow, we can start going into, the way too early drafts for next year. We can start doing some of those kind of shows. We can start going to the running backs we're gonna like. Obviously, we're not
Right.
going to know any rookies that are coming in, but there's some names that are going to come out of nowhere next year that are already on an NFL roster. So, and those are guys that we're going to talk about now. So come July, we start doing your mocks. We're talking about these guys in January. And they're
Right.
gonna
We go
be,
over like there are
yeah.
teams that aren't even in the playoffs right now too. So that's fantasy wise. I also want to go over like because the Cowboys, I think we had 7 head coach openings available.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys actually might be another one. I don't know if they're gonna have an opening. I think it might be Kellen Moore. And then the Raiders, they just lost 2. They might, have an opening. Bisaccia might not come back. So we'll see. We can kind of go
That
through
team is really pushing
best
for him
fits
though.
and everything. So I think they should. Bisaccia, he's earned it. I think
Yeah.
him and Carr, they need to run it back. They got a nice little foundation set up there, man. They just need a few more pieces, and it's an attractive place. I think they can
Mm-hmm.
get free agents. They got money, so I think they're close. You just made the playoffs, man. Like don't go, rebuilding and doing everything. When's the last time they made the playoffs even, So it's a good for them. So we can get into that going too. We can get a head coach show going, and then but Friday, like you said, we'll get our predictions. There's the 4 games. We got 2 games Saturday, Bengals at Titans, Niners at Packers, and then the Sunday slate is Rams, Bucks, Buffalo, and Kansas City. Those games, man, like any of these 8 teams that are still in it, honestly have a chance. So this is like the best of the best right here. These teams, this is going to be football at its finest. So this weekend is going to be fun.
These are the teams that still deserve to be there.
Right.
Any way you slice
100%.
it. You
Period.
you could swap out if Dallas played better. I mean, maybe they still deserve to be in the divisional round or something like that. But
Right.
the other 7 teams that are still playing football right now, those 7 teams deserve to be here. They were probably the better teams to start the year too, and they are going. This is going to be a really exciting week of football, and there's a lot of matchups, a lot of storylines to talk about, some injuries that are going to affect those games.
Cool.
Cannot
Hell
wait.
yeah, man. It's gonna be cool, man. I can't wait for those matchups. We're gonna come back to you guys Friday. We'll give you our predictions. You guys already seen my playoff bracket, so you already know who I got winning the games. But it's still gonna be fun. Like Michael said, we're gonna go through our injury report. Who's gonna make it, who's not gonna make it. We'll give you our DFS lineups for the week because I've still been doing that. That we'll post that in the comment section. So keep a lookout for that. We'll talk to you guys then.
Yeah, guys, and hey, if you're listening, pass this shit out. Hey, anybody that listens to podcasts likes football, hey, let's spread this stuff, man. We're trying to reach the next level here. So, listen to what we got to say and push it around. That's all I gotta say about that. All right.
All right, man. We'll see
All
you
right,
guys
guys.
later.
Peace out.